Yes.
Yes, people are eager. So I'm going to try and speak really well with the microphone here and start out by saying welcome. It is great to see you all here for this. I want to share where we are and introduce some of the people who are working on this planning effort and listen to you. That's why we're here. There are on the back table paper surveys that are available that we would love to just hear more feedback about tonight, although we're taking it verbally too. But there will be an online version to come in the next few days that you'll be able to find through our website. Also want you to know that we want to keep you updated as much as you would like to be updated about this. Lots of things are happening. So I am only going to do a piece of this introduction, and I'm sharing this tonight with one of our staff, a couple of our staff, and one of our consultants, and one of our consultants is also online. And we have people in the room who are volunteers leading this effort as well. So the first thing I would just say is we are excited. This has the potential to be such a exciting neighborhood in East Jefferson County. And the fact that it's in mid-county in Port Hadlock means that it's really accessible. It's accessible to people who are working in Quilcene and Brennan. And we've talked to people who are involved in the shellfish industry, for example, and who can't find housing there. It's accessible to people who are working in Fort Townsend and of course in Port Hadlock and in the tri-area and in Port Ludlow. So that is a game-changing piece of this property and the vision. And another thing that's game-changing about it is that the vision is going to expand and make this available to people in a way that you'll hear about more tonight about that it will be affordable for the long haul. So as the community commits and invests in this, as we get it built, people who are part of it will be there because they're agreeing to help for the future, that they're going to, be greatly benefited by it now, but they are also benefiting those who live there in the future. So that's what I want to do to start with. I want to introduce Bob Collins, who's our director of, did I even say my name? I'm Jamie Maciejewski. I'm the Executive Director of Habitat for Humanity of East Jefferson County. I want to welcome people who are also online and joining us online. And then Bob Collins is our Director of Construction, Land and Strategy. This big project is on your plate, Bob. You're doing a lot of work and planning here, so I'm going to hand it to you.
Great. Thank you, Jamie. And Ellen, we should probably go ahead and unlock the, oh, wait, there it is. We don't need to unlock. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight in person and online. This is really a huge privilege to have the opportunity to work on this project and in this affiliate. For those who don't know, once again, I'm Bob Collins. I've owned a home here in Port Townsend since 2016, but I've been coming to Port Townsend for decades. And I was just talking to Kevin and Jean about my my first home, which was somebody's cabin on Beckett Point that I've been going to for 25 years. And they actually knew Dennis, my friend, and that cabin, and he chose to sell it in 2016, and I got a little upset, so I had to buy my own house. And so, but yeah, have been coming here for quite some time, love this community, and it's a great opportunity for me personally to work on this project. So thank you for your support now and in the future. We know this is what the site looks like. And one of the things that you'll note is if you look really close at one of the boards or online, you'll see a bunch of junk. And I am happy to announce that as of today, the boat and I believe that mobile home are gone. And so, yeah, it's really been great. It's a good feeling to have that area cleaned up, and it's beautiful. It's nice. We were out with Schemata Workshop, who we'll introduce here shortly, walking the site the other day, and some gentleman was out there playing with his dog. People were walking through, and it's a park-like setting, and we're going to do what we can to maintain that park-like setting, but also create some housing. Right? It's just a wonderful opportunity. So as we go through our presentation today, yes, Julie?
Thank you. I just wanted to let everyone know that we are recording this for online folks and folks in the room.
We missed saying that. Thank you. Thank you very much. We'll be sharing a little bit about what we're doing vision-wise, what we've heard while engaging you and engaging others over the I can say years now, we're projecting who we think will call this home. So understanding a little bit about the community and the need, and then how we can make these homes affordable. We'll talk a little bit about that and show a few numbers. And then at the end, we'll show just some images to start developing a thought process around what some of those homes can look like at Mason Street. For the vision, I'm not going to read this whole vision for you, but I really would like you to spend a little time now. And then when we put this up on our website with this vision. And so, vision, words, they can be fluff, but we're really working hard to bring this vision alive. We want this to be a vibrant neighborhood, a walkable neighborhood, ideally a hub for this community. And the school's working with us, the library's working with us. There's some other news that may be announced. It's awesome. And so we really want this to be a resource to the surrounding community, and that connectivity that we can offer those residents here, and then an investment back to Port Hadlock. Timeline-wise, as many of you know, the property was purchased in 2022, and almost immediately, you and others have been engaged to help develop some of the thought process and vision around what the Mason Street development should look like. Site and infrastructure planning, we started in August of this year, the actual project around Mason Street. That project engages a company by the name of Schemata Workshop, another company that's helping us with the project planning to a deeper extent than we're experienced doing, CapEx Advisory Group. And we're developing not only an understanding of what the community wants, but now the vision for what the housing will look like and how it connects with the surrounding area. In 2024, we're hoping, in 2025, we're hoping to have the building design and permitting process well underway. As many of you know, the sewer is going to actually make this property possible for the number of houses that we want. And that sewer ideally will be at Mason and Cedar Street in the second half of 2025. It would be wonderful to meet them with the first connection at the last, shovel that they're putting in the hole of that sewer. Ideally, we start our construction in 2025 through 2026, and then the first home is occupied no later than 2027. I'm hoping we can hit mid-2026. That's my personal goal here. And so that can only be possible with the help of the team, as well as a lot of work, and then the support of the community. So with that said, what I'd like to do is hand off to Schemata Workshop. Ellen with Schemata, and Grace Kim online. We may hear her voice as well. So Ellen, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, hi, I'm Ellen Malman, and I'm a project manager at Schemata Workshop, and we are thrilled, I am short, we are thrilled to be able to participate in this project. Schemata Workshop, it's a mission-driven firm, and we have a lot of experience in affordable housing, in addition to planning, which is this portion of the project. And our work strives to enhance the well-being of communities by making them more livable and resilient. So this presentation is meant to show this is meant to sort of reflect back what we have heard in our research, in our listening sessions. We've spent the last several months with community groups, with employers. You'll see pictures of my office in my screensaver. Sorry about that. So we want to present what we have heard and then also ask you if we had missed something, because this whole process needs to be a product of the community. So our goal, our job has been to sort of gather that information. So there've been a lot of sessions and we've reached some conclusions. So let's see. So here's some of the groups that we met with. They are community groups, employers, just neighbors, a whole lot, just a wide variety. So it was really interesting to get different kinds of viewpoints because everybody's got a different perspective on what they want. Sometimes it's for their employees, sometimes it's for themselves and their families. So we talked to everybody that we could. One of the things that really was striking is how immediate the need is for housing in this area. This project has several years out, it's a timeline of several years, but everyone we spoke to said they are dealing with this situation now. And it was just sort of heartbreaking to hear some of the stories of just really compromised living situations, things that people don't even see, that families crowded into, more than one family crowded into a home that's too small. People not being able to take jobs because they couldn't find a place to live. A lot of employers were expressing frustration with things like that. So our employees can't bring their family with them if they can't find a place to live. Maybe they could find a room for themselves, but they couldn't bring a family. So it's definitely not an ideal situation for anybody. And a lot of people just have really long commutes from where they do live. So I think a goal of this is to create a community that is for the community, for people who live here now and for people who want to live here. So when we spoke with the employers, we listened to the employers. They saw shortage of housing for workers and their families. They know the shortage causes higher prices. It has a direct result or a direct effect on businesses' ability to function. I mean, restaurants can't stay open as many days as they'd like because they don't have staff. So they're reducing hours. That's just definitely an immediate effect on the economy. There's that issue of unseen poverty. Your daughter might have friends who can't invite them over for after-school play dates because they are either embarrassed of their living situation or they simply don't have room to have friends over. Just things that people just don't see. So there's that idea of this poverty is there, but people don't necessarily even know about it. Lack of housing for employees means lack of stability for employees. If you don't have a stable housing situation, you may not be able to get to work on time or on a regular basis. Oops. So what the employers we spoke with said they wanted was a community that blended in with the rest of the neighborhood. This is something that pretty much everybody would like too, is not something that's separate or feels separate, but just something that feels like just another part of the community. Both rental and ownership options. We came into this with the focus on ownership, but found that there is another huge need for rental options, for maybe apartment style options, because people might be coming from outside with a new job and want to just rent an apartment for a year or two before they figure out where they want to live, before they start to put down roots. Younger people aren't in a position to buy a home and they still work in the community. They want a place to live. There are a lot of seasonal workers, we have found out. Just in the hospitality industry, people who come through in the summertime to work in the tourist industry and also in the wintertime. People who might come to the boat building school, for instance, and stay for a year or two. So in addition to home opportunities, we heard that there was a great need for rental opportunities. Another thing we heard, but it's not necessarily in our scope right now, but hopefully will become part of the conversation, is the fact that the public transit system right now doesn't match up with what people need in terms of the beginning and end of the workday, whatever it might be. So there was a lot of frustration expressed about that. So hopefully we can get public transit involved in this conversation too. A community where employees can put down roots. That's something everybody wants, and certainly employers want people to come and stay as long as they want to, and they want people to become part of the community. And they are losing, some employers said they were losing people because of the lack of housing and leaving great gaps in institutional knowledge, people with experience. So anything we can do to alleviate that through housing is part of this goal. But another theme, which is pretty much part of what we do also, is just the responsible use of the land. So we want to be respectful of the site. We're not going to come in and mow it all down and lay out a whole bunch of houses. It's the idea of what is there and respecting what's there and taking care of what's there. So the people we spoke with in these listening sessions want us to respond to this need. They want a wide variety of housing options. It's not just one thing for everybody. They want a walkable community, a place that is not dependent on cars necessarily, but a place where people can spend time outdoors and meet their neighbors. Connections to community and preservation of outdoor space. Excuse me. So I love this picture of the site because it really shows the fact that it's got such a variety of conditions. We've got the big wide open kind of field area and then the walking paths, which show how this has been used by people for many, many years. So our intention is to keep what we can. There's a lot of beautiful old growth trees, and we're going to try and sensitively work around as much as we can. There are different parts of the site, as you'll see, that are a little slopier. So there's obvious places to kind of stay away from the building, keep buildings away from those sections, but that'll be a little further down the road. But we recognize that there is a lot of valuable elements like trees and paths that we want to maintain as much as we can. And is there more? We want to know if we have not heard from you guys anything that needs that somebody, we want to know if people have felt heard, and if not, what do they want us to know? So I'd like to, do you want to wait for questions at the end, or if that's part of the goal of this is to gauge? What do you want to do?
Any feedback? Any real-time feedback?
Yeah, I'd like to speak to the walkability and connectivity sections of your presentation. 8 years ago, I went to the State Department of Transportation and asked them what it would take to get streetlights up out there on the highway between Cedar Street and around that curve there, where it's very dark, always very wet, etc. And they told me that there wasn't enough build out to warrant streetlights. I think that they missed the point. I think the point is density, not build out. There's a wetland across the street. There's not going to be any build out there. There's a backside of that old park. There's not going to be build out there. And it'd be nice if we could have curves. It'd be nice if we could have landscaping. But what we really need is just a few streetlights right there to protect the public. And it's not the kind of walkability where we're trying to get people out of cars. I'm talking about people who don't have cars. So the build out's already there, the library, the school, the bus stops, stores, the restaurants, that's all high density stuff. And just to be able to walk from point A, point B, I hope the county's listening, I hope the state's listening. Somebody used to put streetlights in to connect everything together there and make it more walkable. And this isn't a beautification project.
It's safety. It's absolutely safety. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Could you comment briefly on the new sewer system and how firm is the building commitment and financial responsibility to getting this up and running by the 2025?
I think Bob is probably far more knowledgeable.
So as we understand it, and as you can see on the county's website, they have a plan to have the connection at the second half of 2025. It's my understanding at this point, they are fully or primarily funded for that mission. And in fact, are planning an additional extension perhaps to go down Mason Street for additional connections. And so the funding is there. They're trenching now, they're building now. And so, you know, I can't give you a guarantee on the county, but, you know, when a public works project is fully funded, that's got to feel pretty good. That sewer functions by virtue of having houses here. And so there's a nice connectivity with what they're investing presently and what we intend to put or place here on Mason Street.
And so is the build out of this property gonna be the first use of the sewer system, or is the sewer system gonna be hooked up to QFC and all that up there before coming here?
Yeah, thank you for the question. And so I'm going to repeat the question for online. I apologize. The question was, is this property the first use of the sewer, or will there be other connections? So there will be other connections. I do believe this is the first line that they're dedicated to putting in, but there will be connections to the core downtown of Hadlock.
Okay.
Yeah, another question in the back.
I have a question about, I know some of the homes are gonna be Habitat homes, correct? Habitat for Humanity homes, and the other ones are not. So are those other houses, I mean, I'm hoping to get a Habitat home, but I'm not sure there's 120 houses or 200, I've heard both numbers. But are the houses that aren't Habitat, are they gonna be the going rate like 600,000 to 800,000? Or are they gonna be more sustainably, so people like us, middle class, can afford them?
Yeah, great question. And so the question was, and I'm going to paraphrase briefly, the knowledge that Habitat intends on directly building through our model, a portion of the homes, the remainder of the homes, will those be affordable is another way of saying it. Is that fair? Habitat intends on managing and engaging the entire property. And so we will have affordable, but at income level, homes across the entire property.
And we're going to speak to that in a few slides.
And you will see some information that supports that thought process with some directional numbers later in the presentation. Yeah. Any other questions before we move on?
Or comments, or
Comments?
any more
Yeah.
feedback?
Hand, please.
You talk about it being walkable. I'm curious how many parking spaces you're gonna allow for, and the reality of people walking to UFC, I don't think is a good reality. So, and getting to your job, I mean, our bus system's pretty good. Are these people, I just think that there's not a lot of realistic realism in the planning for these people to not have cars.
So the question was, how many parking spaces are we planning for? And the discussion beyond that was questioning walkability and what that might, I'm going to paraphrase, so tell me if I get this wrong, what that might mean in the mix of the use of the property, be it driving or walking to destinations. My quick answer is that parking and cars are always a controversy. And so we are planning vehicles for every unit. So the question is, how many vehicles? You know, is it one per unit? Probably not. Is it 3 per unit? Probably not. And so what we get into is a trade-off of density and number of units and number of cars. But yes, we are planning for cars. We're intentional about making sure that people have the traditional mode of transit, which is a vehicle. But I would like to point out that there is a very well-trodden path, the length of Mason Street. So this community does use this as a walkable neighborhood. And part of what builds community is not being in your car constantly. And so when we say community and walkable, it would be great to have opportunities for folks at one end of the development, the area, to be able to walk to the other end of the development and meet their friends or gather. And so I'd like to leave that vision with you as well.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, and hopefully with this development being built, and it seems like there's going to be a little bit more volume of people living there, maybe Jefferson Transit will be more funded by taxes and improve their bus service, because I have explored their bus service as a walking person, but as a working person, and there's just no way that I could make it to my job and make it home in a reasonable amount of time using their current service.
So there was a general comment in the room in regards to Jefferson County Transit Service and it not necessarily meeting the needs, would say time of day or service levels. One of the groups we did speak with was a representative from Jefferson County Transit. And I think, much like the sewer district, they, who needs homes here to make that sewer system work. The transit system needs people here to make it work. And I'm certain that the transit system will respond to demands of concentrations of people. Yeah.
At least that's mine.
Yeah, similarly, I know Roger in the back. And, similarly, not everyone wants streetlights, not everyone wants this or that, but, the connectivity between this area and the core downtown, once again, for walking options. So, developing those options or that intent and making sure that we understand it from the who lives here is what's really important. Yes, please.
My husband and I live a block away. And we appreciate how needed the housing is. But what I'm really not looking forward to is this sound. If anybody of you have lived next to a place being constructed, you're gonna hear that all the time. And then there's the bang, 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 all day long. Early hours to late hours. And I don't know about the weekends, but what I need to know is that, are we going to have to listen to this for what looks like a year or so? And which would make our enjoying our backyard or even our house unthinkable. So
Yeah,
I need to know the timeline of the disruption. And then I haven't even mentioned the trucks roaring up and down the roads, but yeah, that's my selfish concern.
And so in the room, there was a concern expressed in regards to the construction process, the disruption to the people who are established here and their peace of mind in the form of construction activity, be it noise or be it transit. To that, I have to say, it's impossible to build without a level of disruption. But I think what would be really great is to continue the dialogue. And yes, we're going to be a lot more clear in regards to what our actual build timelines and framework will be. And I think what you might find is that we are then able to have a further conversation in regards to, well, what does that mean? But we can be certain that, yes, there will be some noise. We can be certain that we want to build this as quickly as possible. And we're also certain that we want to keep the dialogue open in regards to whatever disruptions we may be causing by virtue of building out this property. I'm going to take 2 more questions and then we're going to move on with the presentation. So this gentleman, please.
Just wanted to get an idea, what's the total length of time for the building process to get all 100 plus units in there and call it a working community?
Yeah.
5 years, is it less, more?
That's part of what we're trying to develop right now.
Question.
Thank you, Danny. I'm repeating the question. The question was, how long will it take to build out Mason Street, in a paraphrase? We're working on being able to answer that question right now. And part of that question is how many units and what are those configurations? Part of that question gets answered through how many associated partners, so partner organizations come along with us. Part of it is the financing and how we bring the funding to bear on this. My personal goal is for us to have this community developed within a 5-year span from the time that we're able to start building vertically to the time that we're finished, no more than 5 years. I'd like to beat that, but there are variables that we're still trying to get answers to and discover before I can. Okay, and then there was one more question.
Okay, so does that mean that you'll basically be phasing in, like after 1 year, there'll be some homes that are occupied?
So the question was, will there be phasing, and in the phasing, will some homes be occupied while others are being built? That is a distinct possibility. It is very much likely that we will have homes occupied and still be building other homes for at least a period of 3 years.
And one other thing, will you be giving local construction companies a priority?
One of our primary missions is to make sure that we circulate dollars within this community. What we also have to do, though, is we have to be able to make sure that we build this community in a timely timeframe. And so sometimes we may have to consider looking at or looking for resources and expertise that doesn't necessarily reside here. But it is part of the measures that we will be accountable to understanding and communicating. And that is who we are able to use locally. One of the examples is Schemata Workshop. This team has worked out here on the peninsula before, the broader peninsula. They have expertise that we just don't have locally to this scale. And so sometimes scale is a challenge, but our commitment is to spend as many of the dollars as we can locally, local trades, local individuals. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on with the presentation.
The next thing we wanted to talk about was who will call this home? Who is this development for? So we've done a lot of research on sort of the demographics on population and costs in this area. So it's not news to anybody, but the county population has gone up from this illustrating 2010 through 2023 from about 30,000 to about 35,000. So that's a 13% increase. And the cost of the average home has risen an enormous amount. 2016, an average home was $300,000. And in 2023, the average home cost is $650,000, which is 116% increase. Apparently, Jefferson County is the second least affordable county in the state of Washington. So a phrase or a term that you will hear discussed is area median income, or AMI, and that is just a term and a number that HUD uses to create a base point to talk about affordability in housing. And so that is devised per county. I believe it's census information and employment information. So it's specific to Jefferson County. And so the 100% AMI, which is sort of the middle of the income range, they have it divided by household, 1 person, 2 person, 3 and 4. So for a 1 person household, 100% AMI would be $58,380 a year, all the way up to a 4 person household that would be $83,400 a year. And then they have tiers of income based on that 100% to sort of classify groupings to talk about affordability. Whoops. Get that right. So we're showing the income levels for below 100,000, below 100% of 80, 50, and 30%, and then also above 120 and 150%. And so these describe the baseline of the reference income, half make more and half make less than the 100%. And it's commonly used to represent maximum housing costs as a percentage of income. So that's sort of everything is sort of based on this concept. So we wanted to talk about what kinds of jobs fall within those ranges. People don't always necessarily have an idea of what would fall within that range. So in the 30 to 50% AMI range, which is household income of approximately $24,000 to $37,000, it's a $12 to $18 an hour job. It might be a home health aide, a preschool teacher, a preschool assistant teacher, a barista. At the 50 to 80% level, we've got a household income of approximately $37,000 to $60,000, or $18 to $29 an hour. And that might be a library assistant, a certified nursing assistant, a pharmacy technician. And we're looking at jobs in the area. We're looking at local job listings to get this information. So these are definitely based in the community. The 80 to 150% AMI is household income of $60,000 to $113,000, $29 to $55 an hour. It might be a construction worker, a police officer, a teacher, an engineer. And did you want to, I'm going to turn that over to Jamie to talk about the permanent affordability.
Thanks, Ellen. We want to talk a little bit about how is this affordable and to whom, and a really important part of the this neighborhood will be what we call permanent affordability, because we have seen prices go up of housing so sharply over the last number of years. We, our board of directors about 3 years ago made a commitment to move to what we call permanent affordability. In this model, we limit appreciation by not selling the land and only selling the house. So in the first, the left hand, we need to change your timer on that, Ellen. Habitat owns the land and sells the house to an eligible buyer at a below market rate. And someone asked about this, and we're going to share some numbers so you get an idea of what this means. The buyer builds wealth and keeps the house affordable for the next buyer by limiting their appreciation. And they limit their appreciation going in with eyes wide open by saying, I'm agreeing to that so that the home will remain affordable for future buyers. And by Habitat continuing to own the land, we have a ground lease that states what that appreciation is. So there's a trade-off there. People who buy in and will live in Mason Street in exchange for getting a house that is much below what it would cost on the open market agree that they will also limit their appreciation for the future. So there's a win-win in there, and there's an agreement in there. Now, some people will say, but I want market rate appreciation. If people can afford to buy into market rate housing, then they get market rate appreciation, and that totally makes sense to us. But when people can't afford what market rate housing is, it takes a community's investment to make it affordable. And so in exchange for that community investment, people get a great house, a great housing price, and a care for their next person who buys in. So how much will these homes cost? On the left side here, we have examples of 1, 2, 3, and 4 bedroom houses and what the home price will be if we were to sell them today. So remember that this is, Bob has already mentioned, this is maybe going to be 3 years till the first one's available, something like that, maybe 4. The home price today, there you see what it is. So with the median house price in East Jefferson County right now of $650,000, this is still a way below market price for selling the house. For some people whose income is even lower, there will be down payment assistance available and lower interest rates through certain mortgages that we have access to that makes the price even lower, that subsidizes that down further. And what that means is that this is what a monthly payment might look like. People will not pay more than 1/3 of their gross income on their house payment. So if your income is about $50,000, there, the $49,350, your house payment might be a little less than $1,400 a month. About 1/3 of your monthly income. That just kind of gives you an idea of how that figures out. So people will be in this buying homes, or in some cases renting homes, and where they are not, where our expectation is that we will make sure that while the sale price is higher, that sale price will be affordable to some people, maybe people who make 120 or 150% of area median income, but somebody who makes 60% of area median income is going to need some subsidy in there. And so that down payment assistance and a lower mortgage rate will make it so that their monthly payment is still working for their income. Do you have questions about this before I go on? Yeah.
Just curious, how does the taxes work if you don't own the land?
That's a great question, Beulah. People will pay their property taxes as part of their house payment, even though they don't own their land. And the Jefferson County assessor has guidance from the state assessors that when there is restricted appreciation, it's also valued a little bit less. So the total property taxes are a little bit less than what they would be with the same house on the open market. Any other questions? There's another organization that's doing permanent affordability like this, Olympic Housing Trust. Christine is here from Olympic Housing Trust. And it's a model that's used nationally, this model of owning the land and selling the improvements, the house. And the gain is that the community has invested in this, and so it becomes a community resource. However, people who buy in this way are still making appreciation. They're not only making some appreciation each year, they're also doing what rent can't do, which is rent is kind of like 100% tax. You don't get any of it back. But at least when you're paying a house payment, you are getting that equity back that you've paid in. So people in this will not only get some appreciation, they'll also get that principal payment that they're paying on their house. The elements, oh yeah, go ahead, Jim.
There's also been a trend that I've seen of houses going on the market and large corporations buying them and then turning them into rentals.
Oh, thank you for asking that. So the trend about corporations buying up homes and turning them into rentals, will that happen? Is that your question?
Yeah.
There will be covenants on this land that require that these be first homes. They be primary homes for people. They are not second homes. And if they have not been sold at the beginning, if they are not rental homes under the covenants, they can't be bought up to become mass rental homes by some outside
Right, because
corporation.
I know the Wood and Boat School wanted to buy some specifically for renting, which I think is a wonderful idea.
Right.
Yeah, these big corporations that just.
So comment about the Wood and Boat School being interested in renting. We are talking with employers of all kinds in this county who are interested in potentially having rental housing for employees on this property. We think that's an awesome idea. And we are talking with them and are looking forward to more conversations like that. Here's some things to know about what helps to keep it affordable. It ties the price of the house to buyer income. So that's really just an important thing. And what makes that possible is the community's investment. Donors have been remarkably committed to this happening. The vision of it has inspired people to really give sacrificially to make this a reality. Our community support helps that. And there will need to be more, but it has been awesome. And I just want to say that some of you are in this room who've helped make that possible. Homes are right-sized to the family size and the household income. So I'll just be right out front and say there will not be any 3,000 square foot homes for 3-person households on this. We will have it be similar to how Habitat builds, which is we count bedrooms based on the number of people in the household. And that helps us to keep costs down and to make the price of the house be good. So just know that. And we're making cost-efficient design choices during the planning. So we are really looking at that. How do these homes stay cost-effective, not just at the purchase price, but in the long haul? All of the homes will be Energy Star, as Habitat homes are, which means that people have lower maintenance, they have lower costs for utilities right up right from the first month they live in there, and there'll be materials that last. And we will be looking at all different kinds of options for how these are sustainable, affordable houses for the long haul. Any other questions about the elements of affordability before I hand it back to Ellen to keep going on some of this?
Can we check in online?
Yeah.
So far, they're tracking pretty well with the conversation. I have one question: how many homes can be built in this project? I think
How many homes can be built in this project? Great question. So the reason that people have heard different numbers is that when the sewer comes in, the new zoning will unlock. That zoning says we can build 7 to 12 homes per acre. That comes out to 120 to 205 homes. I'll just tell you that in our initial planning, it looks like it's somewhere in the middle is where we're going to land. We're going to do more than 120. It is not likely we're going to do 205. So when we meet again in January to share preliminary site plan, we'll have a better handle on that number. But yeah, that's right now the answer about number. So did that address that question?
Yep.
Anything else from online?
We're good for now, thanks.
Okay, well, Ellen, would you like to continue here?
So as Jamie said, one of the elements of making homes affordable is going to be the type of housing. And so we have a few slides to demonstrate different types of housing that we're considering for this development. And something that people are probably familiar with is many habitat communities are the cottage, which is a modest home size. These drawings are of all the drawings and all the slides that you're going to see are from different projects. So none of them are meant to represent what's going to go into this particular project. That designing is coming down the line. Also, the illustrations, the photographs are not meant to show any sort of exactly what it's going to look like, but more an example of what it might look like. So we wanted to show that there are all sorts of different kinds of dwelling units and all different sorts of styles that might be considered. So this cottage is a 2-bedroom cottage with 1 bedroom up and 1 bedroom down. A smaller family might live in a home like this, maybe a couple or a family with 1 child. Duplex is another type of housing. When we have a duplex, it reduces the cost of the overall construction because you're taking away that you have less perimeter to pay for. And it also takes up less space on the land. So that's just a more efficient use of land. So these are examples of projects that illustrate that. And that might be a home with a couple of kids. It might be a home with a multi-generational home. So these are the ones that we're showing are these 3-bedroom duplexes. And then the more you put together, we start calling them townhomes. And what this gives us, again, is more efficient use of land. Our intention is we're not totally sure on the final number of groupings, but this is an example of a grouping that's got a variety of home types, of home sizes. So instead of it just being a solid block of things that are exactly the same, we've got a 4-bedroom next to a 2-bedroom, next to 3, 2, and a 3. Each of these has a front yard and a backyard. Not everybody has a side yard. Zoning requires a minimum of 5 feet from the property line to the building face. And so when you have 2 homes next to each other, that's 10 feet. When you eliminate that, you can take that 10 feet between homes and put it back out into the community in terms of a design, in terms of more communal space. So that's definitely the advantage of that. What we like about this also is you'd have different sizes of families living in the same kind of community instead of being exactly the same one after another. So this is a nice mixing of families. So you might have a smaller unit, the 2-bedroom with a smaller family, and then the 4-bedroom might be a bigger family right next door. We have also talked to Olympic Neighbors, which is a organization that runs group homes for developmentally disabled adults, and they have an interest in being a part of this community. And their goal would be to have homes for their clients that blend in with the rest of the community. They would look like maybe a larger home or maybe like a duplex. And they have told us they generally have homes that are fitted out for 6 people, 6 adults, and then the caretakers. So that's something that's hopefully going to go in addition. And finally, the rental apartment idea. Again, that's something that is not just for singles, but might be for some elderly couples who don't want to own, who don't want to take care of their yard, for instance. There's lots of different types of families that would fit in an apartment situation. And that's what we've got right now. Next steps.
Thank you, Ron. Well, let's see if there's any comments in the room or online. Let's start with online.
Thanks. There was one housing type question. Recently, a rental was posted for $600 per month, a tiny house. The owner had 300 replies. That demonstrates the need for affordable housing. Will we be doing tiny homes? And do you think there'll be other future projects with this model?
So the question was, what would be the configuration of the homes that we build on Mason Street? So what are the sizes? What I can say is that we're going to be taking input from any of our build partners, but all of those homes will be built to Habitat standards. And so there will be minimal sizes, minimal configurations, and we'll build this community according to a level of standards that Habitat buys into.
I would say, I think they're asking specifically about a typical tiny home configuration that is probably not.
They almost like
Planning, but
studios.
maybe you don't want to say that.
Well, so the question is coming back again. What's the definition of a tiny home? That's actually what I don't want to entertain here. What I do want to do is I want to say that we're going to be setting the standards for the home design and home configurations across the property. What I define as a tiny home is very much smaller than a cottage, and that's not part of our conversation right now. I suppose we shouldn't exclude it, but that is not one of the visions that we've discussed today.
Are there going to be any 1-bedroom homes?
It is conceivable that we do have 1-bedroom cottage homes, correct, or apartments or other configurations, true. Let me check online just one.
Okay.
Julie, anything else online?
No. we're
Okay,
good, thank you.
sorry. Right here, please.
You're gonna need lots of approvals to get this done. Is the county even capable of making approvals? I mean, honest to God,
One of the things that, yeah, I do. I don't know if I do, to be honest with you. So in the room was a statement. The statement was, we're going to need a lot of approvals. And then the question was, is the county able or capable of providing those approvals? My response is this. One of the things that I was very impressed with when we kicked off this project in August 17th, we had the DCD, so the Department of Community Development, we had Public Works, and we had the PUD at the table for 2 days. And it was more of a, what do we need to do to help? What questions can we answer to make this more possible? Situation, and that was the county speaking. And so part of our efforts right now, in fact, are to get to a common understanding of the cadence that will support the upzoning so that we can get to the point of putting that infrastructure in to meet up with the sewer, as well as get the plat or the design, the layout of the property so that we can get then those building permits going. So we are working on that now. For work that needs to take place several years from now. Jamie, did you want to say something?
Yeah. I also want to add that the county commissioners have been incredibly supportive of this project, as have the lead people at the county. This project needs to be successful for the sewer. And so I feel like we have a very strong partner, and I just hope that you will continue as you interact with your county commissioners to mention that your interest is that this can go smoothly and all, but I believe that their intention is very strong toward this working well. John?
So there's discussion of the sewer rollout here, but I'm also interested in internet service. And is there discussion with PUD to bring fiber to this community?
Yeah, so great question. I can tell you that we've started the conversations with PUD and we've mentioned fiber, but we haven't talked about the specifics yet. I do know that the library is a major connectivity hub for internet service. And so I feel very confident we'll get there, but we have not started those conversations. Specifically. Any other questions? There was one in the back.
Well, I think I've answered my own question, because when those houses are close together, they're gonna be, insulated enough where you can't hear things like that, because the apartments on land are they're not really. For houses on land and habitat built, they're very energy efficient, as you know, you can't hear, there's space between the homes. So I'm sure they'll be like that, they'll be state-of-the-art kind of, not kind of, the state-of-the-art builders.
Yeah, and so the comment in the back effectively was, hey, a duplex, will we hear the neighbor? But it was more so, there was a conversation around our Landis project, where we have already built some duplex homes. And yes, those homes, I don't know if you had an opportunity to go to the open house. If you did, I think what you might find is that they are very quiet homes. And so as part of that development project, I'll just talk a little bit about how it's built. Those homes are actually 2 homes built independently, and then they're engineered together. And that engineering together is tying them together in the form of, I believe we've got 4 layers of sheetrock between these homes, insulation, as well as air gap for sound attenuation, or basically making it quiet. And so, yes, that's a very well-engineered wall between those units. And we've had comments about, hey, somebody was yelling next door and we didn't even know it. And I mean, it was all in fun, of course. But at the end of the day, yes, we're building these homes to habitat standards. Yes, question?
I've heard the number of 120 homes, but obviously these aren't all the same size. There's an apartment house there that might have dozens of people in it. I don't know what the number is, but if you add up all the people who are gonna live there, not just the houses, have you come up with a number for that?
We haven't. I don't know if Schemata has done that. Ellen, has there been a?
No, we haven't. The apartment buildings right now are intended to be 8 units per floor, 3 stories. So that would be 24 units. Some of them might be 2 bedrooms, some of them might be 3 or 4. That hasn't been determined yet. So right now we're just speaking in terms of units. And I think we're kind of around the 150 range at the moment. But you're right, the total number of people would be part of that in the end, but we can't answer that at this moment.
Part of the challenge is that you can have a 2-bedroom home, and that 2-bedroom home can accommodate 2 people or 3 people. And so we don't have that crystal ball, so to speak. So the question in the room was how many people, not just units, but how many people may be residing at Mason Street? Other questions? Yeah.
I have some questions about the impact of all these extra families on, for example, QFC. Pretty maxed out already. We got people coming from Quilcene, Port Ludlow, and I don't expect answers now, but I just want to give you a few of my questions. Also, I know that you're working with a school. I've worked tutoring in schools, and they try to keep the numbers down. I'm specifically aware of the kindergarten program, and almost every year they're scrambling to reduce the class size from like 20 to 17. And so I'm just hoping, I know you can't tell me how that's going to work, but I'm just hoping that you're working closely with them so they don't have surprises. The other thing is there's not a whole lot of extra room at the primary school. There's maybe 1 or 2 resource rooms.
Thanks for the questions. So the questions are about essentially the infrastructure that already exists. Can QFC accommodate this many more shoppers? Can the school accommodate more students and so on? So QFC has been constrained in its ability to grow because of no sewer, because it's on a septic field. So I wouldn't be surprised, I haven't talked to them, but I would not be surprised that they have hopes that they can expand to meet the needs. They're a very busy store, obviously, for those of you who shop there, as I do. The school district has been super supportive of this work. The population of the school district is about half of what it was just about 12 years ago. And the primary school was built to accommodate that larger population, and it has space now that it's contracting out to other entities. And my understanding from the superintendent and the school board is that they are very much interested that this school district has more students coming into it. That's an important thing to them. So I can't speak on their behalf about spaces and all. I do know, though, that the primary school was built at a time when there was twice the population in the school district.
So Jamie, also, we do know that, this community and part of the discussions with the school district is having affordable homes for teachers. And so they fit together. Those two fit together.
Yeah, they travel.
Yeah. Roger in the back. Roger?
Yeah, we were up zone, allowed you to go 3 stories.
I do believe that we have the opportunity, if we choose to select it, to have 3-story units. It's not to say that we will, the opportunity is there. The question, yeah, I think that covered it. Can we go online and then we'll come back to you?
Sure. This is a follow-up comment on the schools. Increased enrollment helps the schools. It's about 1,000 people. More people helps employers. These people are already here, potentially living in substandard housing. RVs, campers, etc. Schools have the ability to bus out of district students as well. So that's a comment.
I'm not certain I can recap that for the video, but thank you.
Sorry, yeah, I think it was just a supportive comment. And then I know that one of the new partner families is a school teacher. That's from a comment of support. So we're hoping that this neighborhood will be able to house Chimicum school staff.
Absolutely. That's part of the discussion. Yeah, John.
So my question or comment is a little more whimsical. Mason Street Development is a really dry name and does not speak at all towards either the greater Hadlock community nor the past use as an airstrip. So is there any movement going to be made towards acknowledging its past use as an airstrip, perhaps incorporating the hangar or a hangar-like structure on the property as a nod to the past use, or even just renaming it?
Yeah, so what about the name? Mason Street Development is not very interesting, kind of dry. What about the past use? We are really interested in it not staying the Mason Street Development. It's got to have something a little bit more interesting than that. And we are very open to ideas. We've heard some different ones. Whether the airstrip stays part of it, I'd love to hear from you. How many think the airstrip should sort of stay part of its identity in some way? At least one person, a couple
We're seeing
people.
2 hands.
You could keep the center and hangar.
Community center in the hangar, keep that hangar there maybe, or something that looks like a hangar.
Yeah, let's rebuild it.
Rebuild the hangar, yeah, that's probably better. But yeah, thank you for those suggestions, and maybe we'll have to have some kind of a naming contest or something. So
I refer to it as the airport park.
Airport Park.
Currently, yeah.
Oh, nice, your dog thinks it's Airport Park, yeah.
And that brings up another question. So I live right nearby on Hunt
Yep.
And during the time that the tree cutting was happening, the sheriff would drive up there and chase everybody away. And tell us they'd arrest us for being on the property at all. Is that going to be relaxed at all? I mean, here you talk about people walking their dogs and everything in the field. I'd love to go throw the chuck it out there. But we see the sheriff drive by and they do still chase people off. So
Yeah, what about access to the property and is it okay to walk on it and so on? The sheriff has been being very supportive to try to help us keep people from setting up unauthorized camping situations on the property, which is why we've limbed up the trees and tried to clear the sight lines. It's really difficult, I think, for them to chase some people off and not all people off. So we are not being rigid about that right now. We definitely want it to be safe for people. And we've very much appreciated our partnership with the sheriff's office that they've simply been willing to keep an eye on things. So that's not a real very clear cut answer, sorry. And if you're there with your dog, we'll smile. And anyway, don't put your tent there, please.
HD Carol did.
There will be a time, though, there will be a time where there will be no access to this property. And so we need to just make that really clear that as that development starts, safety, if nothing else, says you cannot be there. And so that reality will come. And then as will the reality that once it is developed, that connectivity comes back.
Yeah.
Other questions? Anything?
Hadlock Landing was a suggestion.
The online, the suggestion was Hadlock Landing.
That's good.
It'll go on the list.
Yeah.
Other thoughts? Yes.
This, I don't know if this will offend people, but I work at the food bank and we're seeing the need really increase. And I don't know what, we're never able to predict how many people are coming in the future on any given day. So I don't know who you would work with for that. There's a food bank association of Jefferson County. I wouldn't go through OnlyCap, please. But I'm just wondering, I mean, the reality is some of these people are gonna go to the food bank. Hopefully they all have jobs, in a perfect world, they all have jobs, they don't need it. But I see an impact on the local.
The comment in the room was from a food bank perspective, there is quite a demand. And so then I think really where the question was going, or the point was being made, is that if we bring more people into the community, could there be more pressure on the food bank? Is that a fair?
Correct.
Okay. I think the thing that I would offer up is this, with 120 to 150 affordable homes, that will take a lot of pressure off of monthly incomes and ability to purchase food. And so what I would consider is an opportunity to alleviate pressure as much as, or more so than saying it's going to create more pressure on some of the services.
That would be great.
Okay. Well,
We've got some
oh, yeah.
those things.
Oh, yeah, the next steps, it keeps flashing. Hopefully no one's reacting to this. Well, first of all, before I go, thank you for your participation and for being here in person and online. This is the only way that we will be successful is with engagement, and engagement like this, continuing engagement, and even more engagement, to be honest. And so thank you very much for your questions and thoughts. From a next step standpoint, we will be collecting, of course, this information. And once again, there's basically a listening sheet. Tell us what we need to know about you in this community. And so back on the back table, there's an opportunity for you to give us some information. And we're going to also, as Jamie mentioned at the outset, post that online because we want to continue the process of listening. We are not in a business here of imposing things on folks. And so as much as we can understand and hear, we're able to then consider as part of our process. So in January, though, it's a really exciting time. because we will start that process of creating that true vision in the form of images, things to interact with, things to see, and even more questions. So some of the thought process around, well, duplexes, how many single bedroom units, how many, that's where it's starting to come together. Parking, what does it look like? And so it really makes it easier when you have those images, and that is our January 18th session. So please come back, and please, to be honest with you, tell your friends. Would love to have this room filled with individuals that have questions, as well as online for that session. So Jen,
Figure on more than an hour, probably.
yes, we're definitely more than an hour. If you want to stay engaged, please send an email to info@habitatojc.org. We'll sign you up for our e-news. So you'll be getting regular communications in regards to the Mason Street development. We'll also have an opportunity to direct you to our Mason Street landing page as we stand that up. And then once again, mention the survey, the listening page that we have out there. So thank you for being here. Jamie, did you want to say anything?
I really appreciate your time, your thinking, your questions. If you're an employer and want to talk to us or have access to people who need housing, we are open. We are interested in hearing from more about that. I see somebody who I think that might be a conversation, at least one person. So thank you for your time. We're going to hang around if you have more questions.
And I'll get that.
Yeah, go for it.